So today we've got two of our really great speakers. We got Daniel, Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at Prudential Center, and of course, Jersey Devils. It's great. We've got Jamie King, 85 games under the belt, ex-Rockstar Games, and SA Global. Studios. SA Studios Global. Do you guys want to give a brief intro of what you're working on right now? We're going to be talking about the future of esports and sports local. It's old school versus new school, in-house, and what's going on virtually.
Hey, how's it going? So really my focus is video games. Now it's become all about esports. SA Studios, we collaborate with Machinima and an agency called Mac One, and we focus on connecting non-endemic brands to gamers, in particular esports. And for us, it's a new sport, and we're very excited to be here and to have this conversation on the sofa.
Absolutely. Daniel Cherry, Chief Marketing Innovation Officer for the New Jersey Devils and Prudential Center. And I hope you all are going to come to a New Jersey Devils game or concert in the near future. Thank you for that. What we're working on right now, I tell my team that we're in the smiles business. So although we're talking about technology, we make more money when more people smile. So to me, technology is a means to an end. So whether that be content, beacon technology, Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth in the controlled environment of an arena, we want to figure out how to bring a better experience to our fans and take the content that we have in and around the ice, because a lot of the on-ice content is through our partner at NHL. But anything that happens around the ice is ours. So how do we monetize all those experiences to put more smiles on people's faces and generate more media and more revenue?
So I want to talk a little bit about fan engagement with players and how that works on the esport level and how it works in a stadium level. We were talking a little bit backstage about how you're seeing fans interact with your players on Twitch. Could you go into that a little bit?
Well, I think with any sport, we have our heroes, and there's a very strong connection with fans of esport, with the best, most professional players. We look up to them, we aspire to be like them, we learn from them, and they are now more interesting to us than celebrities or traditional athletes.
And for me, I'm fascinated. I'm learning a lot from Twitch. We talked backstage about Twitch. And for those who don't know, right, Twitch is essentially, if you take ESPN, multiply by 100 million, you get an idea of what Twitch is for gaming. And unlike many sports, traditional sports, for example, the NFL, you'll watch the draft for NFL or the NFL combines. But with Twitch, you're getting about 30 million plus uniques of a player practicing and having that many folk weigh in, feed in, watch, comment on someone's practice. We're not there yet at the traditional sports level, but I'm taking a lot of cues from what they're doing in esports and bringing that to the social media, right, and the traditional media spaces within traditional sports.
So technology is enabling fans to interact better with the leagues and with players. Were you guys also seeing technology sort of innovate or disrupt in what's going on with sports, especially with how in the last decade esports has kind of exploded for viewership, and what's going on with technology in the space of stadiums and the user experience?
Well, I think the best thing for me as a kind of partner and marketer in the live event space is how do I leverage the amazing opportunities that technology provides in the digital space and deliver that with a seamless analog digital experience. Because we don't make money today without someone coming somewhere, seeing something, congregating in person, where most of what the digital technologies do today are allowing a virtual world to connect in one digital space at one time. So we need to find a way to break that code so that we can allow the digital and the analog to work seamlessly together and hopefully monetize everything. That's the hurdle for us in the physical event space.
From an esports perspective, we feel like we're very much at a tipping point, and it's now being acknowledged as a sport. If you look at the viewing numbers, and they're second only to the NFL, we're also reflective of all the technological changes that are going on, and the most sort of ardent age group of our audience is the audience that have cut the cord, are getting all of their content from streaming sites like Twitch, At the same time, we're all being affected by the move to mobile and smartphones. We also find that 72% of esport participants and enthusiasts go to live events. So we're now turning up in numbers like 100,000 at these arenas to watch professional athletes compete. And we're now going to traditional TV, look at Turner and their E-League. And so we're very much rubbing shoulders with the traditional sports. And I feel in many ways the esports is very much at the driving end, at the spear end of, and reflecting how technology and mobile devices and streaming live video is changing everything for all of us.
And we will be having an esport event at some point at The
We
Rock
got a lot to talk
in
about.
Prudential Center.
That sounds exciting. So what do you see when it comes to wearables and device technology, or even mobile apps as they engage both with the sport? Does that add to the experience? I mean, everyone here has RFIDs, and what is it doing right now when it comes to that live stadium experience, both with an esport experience as well as, you know, traditional sports time frame? Or no.
Well, I think in traditional sports, the fascination with data and statistics is what's going to drive the use of wearables and other technology, right? Sabermetrics in sports, every single data point can actually allow, if you take sabermetrics actually and gaming and betting, all three of those things are all based on data. The more data, the more exposure, right? The more information you have, instantaneously, the better your odds are at winning or, right, placing the right bet on the right player. So for me, wearables can enhance that experience in real time. And we're trying to find a way without impeding the flow of the athlete, because the purity of the sport is the most important thing for us. Allowing athletes to do amazing things that the average person cannot do, and watching that live or on television in real time, nothing beats that, because you don't know the outcome. But I think we all know people watch every event with multiple screens. So how can we feed the beast of the experience through multiple screens? What you get on your phone, your iPad, and what you get on the television. Because the bigger and bigger the screens, the thinner they are, and the more amazing the, right, pixelation and resolution. I don't want to have that screen filled with a bunch of other ancillary data. We want to feed that through other channels. And for me, that to me is what wearables can provide, is a constant stream of information in real time that gets pushed through other channels while you allow the main screen to be the purity of that experience with angles that you've probably never seen before.
I think for us, we sort of look at it as, in terms of wearables, we're probably going to go quite deep into what the player's heart rate is and what their brain's doing and the monitoring of that data. The smartphone has changed everything for all of us. And I think as we get to the sort of stadium experience, it's at least we now have a common platform and a device in which we can take advantage. We know our audience is spending all their time on it. When they're watching TV, they have their phone on. And rather than it being a detractor, it is actually now an addition. And there are multiple ways in which we can leverage that platform to understand our audience better, give them more entertainment in the downtimes, and personalize the experience. And at the same time, capture a lot of information in-house about what they're looking for and how to continually kind of evolve and enhance the experience.
So talking about how media talks to sports, how it presents it, comments, moderation, there's been an explosion of that in the esports space on Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike. What are the similarities between how media is sort of communicating that to the fans, and what are the differences that happen between esports and traditional sports?
It's funny, like on the one hand, you sort of hear a lot of the hardcore, there was sort of this murmuring of, you know, yeah, but we're sport, but we're not, you don't need a fucking sports desk. But same time, actually we do. Yes. And we need the commentary, especially for the casual audience and sort of more, sort of enthusiasts who are sort of drawn into a big event, like a tentpole moment. And we need to put things into context. It's an opportunity to get background on the players, on the teams, on the league, on some of the dramatic moments throughout the year. And I think as esports go, we're learning from, the grown-ups of traditional sports, and there's a lot for us to take. And I think it'd be interesting to see perhaps how we can maybe evolve and push that forward a bit. I think there's going to be a drive to surface data in real time, percentages of what's happening, and very much that you guys have been doing for a long time. So, There's actually a lot more similarity.
I totally agree. I mean, we're deep in the esports space in our sports and entertainment, right, holding company, and we love it. And to your point, there are a lot of similarities that we want to leverage from. I think the best thing that we're learning from the esports space is content created by the athletes, if you call them such. There's a lot more content that the gamers are creating of themselves and in their world from their own voice. And much of the content created in the traditional sports world are by the ESPNs of the world or the broadcasters, teams, or leagues. So what would it look like if players made a lot of their own content or have more of a creative voice? It's non-traditional for someone like Kobe Bryant to own an ad agency and make his own TV commercials. But in the mobile, right, in the social and digital spaces and the digital natives, they're used to acting and creating, being the performer and the producer. And I'd love to see what that would look like in traditional sports where athletes actually had their own perspective and made more of their own content from their own right point of view.
He made some really good points, and it actually ties back to one of your earlier questions about fans and how are they influencing everything. Well, a lot of the super fans of both traditional sports and esports have more say and more influence than the athletes themselves. At the same time, there is a lot happening where athletes increasingly want to take control of their channels outside of the stadium, and we're starting to see that appear.
That's great. I think it does tie right back into that engagement between fans, sports, leagues, franchises, and being able to sort of show the data, but also really engage in terms of content with the brands that you love. What are the biggest obstacles? When you guys go to sleep at night, what are you most worried about when it comes to technology and innovation in this space? Are you worried about disruption? Are you worried about adopting new technologies? What are you guys most worried about in the sports domain?
We'll let that go by.
Helicopters.
Flew in that helicopter for us.
Soundproofing.
Honestly, for me, is how do we allow technology to be an accelerator and not a detractor? I'm completely fine with technology being a disruptor. I think traditional sports needs a bit of disruption. I think it's been a bit stagnant, candidly, for so long. So I think it should be leapfrogged by other technologies and be a tugboat. So I love for technology to be a tugboat for what we do in our traditional sports, inside and outside the arena. But what I go to sleep at night thinking about is how do we use technology in all its forms to accelerate the attendance, the engagement, the media footprint of the teams, right? So I want to make sure that technology allows the New Jersey Devils to go as far and wide as they can go and not be artificially limited by the place and space in which they perform, which is the Rock.
And I think, there's always that fine line. You want to be an early adopter. You don't want to get burnt, though. And it's about, technology now is, not even Moore's law. Like, it's just so fast. So in terms of adopting and utilizing a new piece of technology inside of an organization to enhance the fan experience, there's some train wrecks, behind us. I think the words, VR is excellent and exciting, but terrifying. There's going to be a train wrecks galore on that one. At the same time, you look at Activision, you look at their new, Call of Duty League, and they're pushing out some technologies. They have one called Eve, where it's going to be surfacing real-time data on the players and how they're performing. So we're definitely always trying to use technology as a new tool to enhance the experience. It's scary, it's expensive, and it can be out of date like that. And then it's healthy disruption, right? Look at Twitch, and there's Hitbox, there's Azubu, there's Mobcrush, there's new platforms, and we actually need that in terms of competition and innovation.
And I think I piggyback that point. I think it's also important to leverage existing platforms and technologies in a new way, given your competitive advantage. So you don't always have to go to the next new thing because you have a fear of adoption. Because what you're going to be doing is not just capturing the fans that are already on there. You're going to spend most of your time marketing that new platform and being a guinea pig to hopefully, right, create the next big thing. What I'd rather do is surf the next big thing. An example of someone who's done that is Disney, right? Disney has to have new technology. They have to innovate. But their biggest fear is with 50+ million people coming a year, if they adopt the wrong platform, they're screwed out of billions. So their best new invention was leveraging RFID technology. That's not new.
Right.
It's rather archaic in today's terms, but they leveraged that technology because all they needed was an easy way to capture information. and RFID in a closed environment was the smartest solution. They leveraged that, put some information on the band, scaled it in their theme park, and now they can create a whole new experience because now that information can talk to each other to create a whole new experience for fans and potentially upsell an experience. Given the more information you have, the more you're willing to spend, the more that they can cater the experience, personalize the experience in the theme park to you or your child. And that to me is a fascinating opportunity for controlled environments like arenas.
So there's new viewing experiences that are coming out, right? And as we talk about technology and innovation, if you get too large, you could be causing a lot of chaos within your own organization. When you see VR, when you see augmented reality, do you see yourselves innovating immediately, taking your time and seeing what other players are doing in the space? Or are you really excited about it?
From an esport perspective, I think personally, I think VR is not a fad. I think it's over the next 10 years, it's going to, it's going to change a lot. My understanding from people that actually work a lot more in this industry talk about you have to get through VR to get to AR. And AR is really where it's at. Yeah. I think when we talk about sports and we talk about the stadium experience, then it's going to get a lot bigger. Everyone's talking about the third venue. They're talking about extending the size of the overall stadium. Technology is going to play an enormous role in that in terms of allowing us to cater to audiences who have no money and are older and want to stay at home, all the way through to the haves who want to have a super high-end experience. And there's this huge audience in the middle where we can use technology, AR, VR, 360, technology, smartphones, before the game, during the game, after the game, to have a much richer, deeper family experience. And because of the smartphone, we can hopefully capture that data, making the right choice in technology investment, and then actually process that data into something meaningful that we can then give back added value to the audience and kind of create that whole feedback loop.
As a practical example, arenas have physical capacity issues. We're constrained by the number of seats or spaces we have to sell. Right. And technology can break through that exponentially. So could you have an augmented reality experience that a fan who may not have a traditional season ticket membership, meaning they come to the arena and they sit on a seat and watch an experience, could you sell tickets above and beyond the capacity of your arena? It's like selling unlimited seats on one flight of one plane to the world. That's what technology can give you. And that's what we're excited by.
And if you put that in context, so League of Legends, the most popular esport game, sold out Staples Center, sells out the stadiums, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people attending, and then 32 million people online watching that event. So then if you take that even further into what you were saying, it's like, so if long tail, VR and AR means that anyone around the world can be dropping into a Devils game and I can hear that ice and I can feel that puck going past my head, then it's like, okay.
And the goal there between us is to make sure that the teams, the arenas, the local manufacturer of the content, the producers, can retain as much revenue and much value as possible. Because the way it's set up currently in all sports, esports has to go to a network and create a platform. That network is going to generate a lot more revenue than that team, or that company that owns that team. So for me, if teams, arenas, producers of the content own the technology and the distribution channels that are not network confined, we get more of that revenue. Because I would rather sell VR tickets than a VR subscription.
So it sounds like
maybe your question earlier about what keeps you up at night. It's the broadcasters who probably can't sleep right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So Jamie from SA Studios Global, Daniel, CMIO of Prudential and Jersey Devils, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.